Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Going to have my final installment of cringeworthy things said to single Christian men today. That's where I'm wearing black. This will be the end of the series. It's the longest series I've ever had, but that's because there are so many cringeworthy things that are said to singles today. And but black, doesn't have to signify the end of your relationship. I want people to keep thinking that they can find someone, and I want to try to be an encouragement to them. That's why I have Love Beyond the Sea, or lvbts.com. If you want to find the website designed by Mr. E, check it out, and leave a comment here as we talk about cringeworthy things said to single Christian men. Now I've got just three left, and we'll wrap up this series. I'm going to start with this one. By the way, I got married finally at 53, but I wanted to from the time I was, mid-20s or so. Have you heard this? If you're not married by 35 or 40, you're not going to be. I had a single friend of mine years ago tell me that that's what he was told. So that's primarily why, excuse me, this one made the list. If you're not married by 35 or 40, you're not going to be. And somebody told him that, which is really uncalled for and unnecessary. There are people, I suppose, who get married by choice at that age. Some of us, however, want to get married a lot sooner than that. And we're discovering it, just how hard it can be. Now, I remember, early, I should say mid-20s, thinking, oh, it'll be easy to find somebody. Just give me a couple of weeks, hook up with somebody, and then a couple of years we'll be married. Well, I got married at 53. I thought that would never happen by that point. But I'm glad I didn't give up. And so I want you to be encouraged to not give up. If you're 35 or 40, you might just be in the right place where God wants you to find somebody. You just have to go where you're wanted, look around, try different things. I always assumed I'd be married to somebody in my own city, and ended up marrying somebody in a whole different country, far away. Yeah, we have a lot of differences, but we have some main important similarities, and you can see that if you scour through my 480 videos or so in the last 27 months. But for this series, I want to talk to single Christian men how to deal with some of the cringeworthy things. And this is certainly cringeworthy. If you're not married by 35 or 40, what if you're 40 years old? That's it. You may have half of your life to look forward to being alone. There's no reason to say that, but this guy was told that. I'm sure he was pretty upset. Not married by 35 or 40. Yeah, it's common to get married when you're younger, but even today, I saw a singles Christian message board, and it seemed a little bit more civil than what I remember it back in 2015 when I got married, or 2010 area when I started looking at those. There was a lot of hurt people, and it almost seemed like the moderators were there to scold you if you were to say some of the things I've been saying in this series. That is that marriage is the grace of life. Boy, I got taken to cleaners on that one. I'll still say 1 Peter 3:7, marriage is the grace of life. It's as good as it gets. Sometimes people are single and they feel like they just have to defend being single. I think you should still try to get married. Yes, we should be content, but we still have to look for a spouse, especially if you're a man. You should go out and pursue. I know people think that's a terrible thing to say, that you should go out and pursue somebody. Well, I guess if you want to be alone, you can just decide not to be looking for someone. But I would like to think you'd like to get married. But if you're 35 or 40, and other people are thinking, well, they're just, who knows, something wrong with them, a loser, irresponsible, self-centered, lazy, whatever. That's not why many people are still single at 35 or 40. Sometimes they just haven't been where they've been wanted. Like I said, go where you're wanted. Keep your eyes open for different opportunities. Think outside the box. And maybe I could have gotten married earlier if I had tried another country, but I had never thought of it. So that's just the way it worked out. So please do not think that there's some limit if you're 35 or 40. Use your experience and wisdom you've gleaned over the years. Please subscribe to my channel, Love Beyond the Sea. Maybe you can be inspired by some things there. I hope so. But I want you to keep going. Don't give up. I've got two more. One of them is this. You've probably heard this. You will never get married until you are content. Until you're perfectly content, you're still going to be single. As if everybody that's been married had reached a state of contentment. Now, as I've been pointing out, with many of these well-intentioned but cringeworthy statements that are made to single men, there may be some truth to it. That may come from a particular Bible verse. However, and content is important. We are to be content, and I do believe it's wrong to be discontent. However, there's a certain discontentment I think you have when you need something that you believe is God's will. I always think of Hannah and the way she wept bitterly because she wanted a child, and she was later eventually given a child, but I don't think she would come across to me as being content, because she felt that this is what was right, this is what was God's will, and that's what she prayed for, and it was alarming in the process to be found wanting. But there was a certain discontent that meant, until I have accomplished God's will, I'm not going to give up on this. And I felt the same way about me being single. I would have told you, yeah, I'm not content being single. I'm not content being lonely, and I'm not content being sexually frustrated. I'm not content with not having somebody to go do things with. And I did try getting my mind off of that. I did try service, and sometimes that was difficult too, because you're serving around couples, and that can be very distracting. I wanted to be content. I did the best I could. I kept studying marriage. And I still like to learn, and I still need to learn, but I would never say I was content. I reached this state of perfect contentment, therefore I knew I was going to get married soon, and I wouldn't want somebody to feel bad about that. I was not content. I was trying to find whatever I could do to find a wife, and just kept clawing and scratching to find someone, trying different things. Sometimes I had to stop and lick my wounds for a while, to not get totally absorbed in that pursuit. But I really couldn't stay out of the running, the pursuit of a wife for too long, because I felt like time was slipping away. And especially when you get to 50, it's like, wow, this may be impossible. Well, I did finally get married at age 53, and since then I haven't even thought at all about being single and what it was like, because my focus is completely different now. But no, you don't have to be perfectly content, but you don't want to be bitter, as many people are, because nothing good will happen then. You want to keep trying to get married, maybe find some positive people to be around, maybe find a mentor that cares about you, that also thinks it's important to get married. Keep studying marriage. I know singles, that's why I did this series, they're misunderstood, I think. That's okay, I guess it has to be. And we hear all these, what will be 30 cringeworthy statements, and after a while, it's enough is enough. I don't want to hear it anymore. While there is some truth to it, some of these statements, you still got to forge ahead and try to find that spouse, because it is definitely worth it. So while you may not be perfectly content, ask God to help you to be focused, to be content. But that does not mean that being content is the absence of a desire to get married. The absence, it's like if you're without a job and you need a job, you're looking for a job, you should work. Does it do any good to be miserable and nerve-wracked all the time and complaining about being out of work? No. There has to be some contentment with the point in the process that you've done all you can for now, and it still hasn't happened yet. And tomorrow you'll pick yourself up by the bootstraps and go out and keep looking for a job. So you might be content in a sense, but not so content that you just give up looking for a job. And I kind of think it's kind of similar to getting married. Please leave comments here as we near the end of this series. Any cringeworthy comments you've heard, what particularly bothers you, and subscribe to the channel for some encouragement to get married. Now I've got one more, just one more. I'm sure I forgot some cringeworthy statements, but this is particularly bothersome, and that is, you're still single because you're too picky. It's possible to be too picky. I saw a Dr. Phil video one time, and a woman had like 5 pages of requirements for her husband. And that's just, that's just ludicrous. It's important to focus on the things that matter. For example, if you're a Christian, the number one thing is that you should marry a Christian. That's really the only requirement, I think, because God wants people married. He's not going to limit it geographically or educationally or by intelligence or by skills, by age group. He wants people to get married. As a Christian, you would do well to marry a Christian. That's it. Where they live, their age, their interests, their personality. Well, you got to use some wisdom here because time is running out. I do have a video called "Is Time on Your Side?" or "Is Time on My Side?" Something like that. It really moves fast, and sad to say, probably my marriage will go by fast. And so, think about, we all are going to die one day. Do you want to die alone? Time moves very fast, and we need to do all we can to try to find somebody without losing hope, without becoming so desperate that we make some very, very poor decisions. And that can happen, especially if you're someone like me that goes overseas to find a wife. Very glad I did. But, if you're a guy, you're going to be attracted, I suppose, to the woman you marry. That's only natural. It kind of seems like a non-negotiable. But you don't have to, she doesn't have to have every single physical attribute that you are attracted to. You just need to be attracted to her. That's kind of a given. Beyond that, being too picky could be expecting perfection, expecting them to be better than you are in certain areas. You're going to marry a sinner, that's for sure. And that person you marry is going to marry a sinner, you. And so keep that in mind. Just don't be too picky. You can be selective. You have to be discerning, of course. But the main thing to be discerning about is, if you're a Christian, are you marrying a Christian? Are you about to marry a Christian and propose to a Christian? Now, even at that rate, you could say, I suppose, hypothetically, well, they're a Christian maybe, but I want them to be a Christian at this level, or a Christian for, 20 or 30 years, or a Christian all their life, or something like that. Or, some will say, well, I insist on only marrying somebody that's a virgin. And while there's nothing wrong with that, the older person gets, the less likely they are to have escaped their singleness without, losing their virginity. So if you're really, really young, great, look for that and get married ASAP. Otherwise, I think it's not really helpful to your cause to be looking to marry only somebody that was a Christian and a virgin. They'll have their past. You can ask them about their past. They'll probably ask you about yours. But don't be too picky. I mean, and don't look for perfection. I mean, only you know in your mind if you're being too picky. Only you know what exactly you're looking for. And since I brought up physical attraction as being kind of a no-brainer, we're going to marry somebody we're attracted to as a man. Even the Bible tells us, and experience tells us, that's going to wane. That's going to wane. And so the thing is, if you focus on character, that's not going to lessen with the years. If there's really character there, it's going to be strengthened. It's going to be improved. It's going to get better over the years. The looks, not so much. And if you're a guy who's concerned about the physical appearance of yourself, like lifting and exercising and so on, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of us like to lift weights. Nothing wrong with that. But even your appearance is going to go, and your strength is going to go. That's just the way of life. And so a woman should look at a guy with redeeming character values, and so should the man for the woman. So while I would recommend being discerning, focusing on the few majors, the few things that you have to have, don't have a lot of must-haves. You may have a deal breaker here and there. But even then, you should consider, do I have a deal breaker or too many that's actually keeping me single? So again, there's, how true this is, you're still single because you're too picky. I mean, who knows? That doesn't apply to every single by any means. But what it does help to do is to at least step back and look at your own life and say, well, how picky am I really? Maybe I'm not too picky, but maybe I've been getting pickier. Maybe I could make some adjustments in certain ways to help open up opportunities. I don't know. That's just something to think about, as well as all of these things. This has been a series called Cringeworthy Things Said to Christian Single Men. So I'd encourage you to leave some comments here or in the lvbts.com website, and just start a topic there, and hopefully in time this will be something that single people can go to talk about, relational issues, lifestyle issues. Married men can go and talk about things that can help people that are married. And anyway, just check that out and consider subscribing to Love Beyond the Sea, thank you for any and all of these videos you may have watched in the series. It's by far the longest one that I've ever had. And so let me know what you think. And remember to always go where you're wanted.